It's time for the match preview. We're going to be looking at Millwall versus Luton Town from a Luton Town's perspective. And with me to digest this match before it happens is my co-host Mark Ryman. How are you getting on this evening, Mark?
I'm good, thank you very much, Ollie. Bit apprehensive though, I don't know about you, but I'm not full of confidence, let's say, ready for Saturday's game.
International break has not helped the nerves, has it?
Well, losing 2-1 to QPR at home hasn't helped that either, let's be honest. So it's always good when you can end the little section at the start of the season with at least a point on the board or a good result. And the nature of that defeat has left us just with 2 weeks of riddled with anxiety. But we'll see.
And we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Millwall's win just before international break. Yeah. Does it give the momentum? Does it not give the momentum? Does international break kill the momentum? We'll discuss all of this right after I ask. Please just take a minute, like this video. Well, not even a minute, only takes a second. And subscribe to our channel for even more Luton Town content. We have a podcast that looks specifically with never before access to the Luton Town ladies team, and it's just brilliant. We have one this week that we dropped with Miles Maddox, the joint manager. It's a really good listen, really gives you some tremendous insight. Also, a big thank you to our audio partners, Black Star Amplification and Carry On, for making sure that we sound absolutely fantastic. And a big thank you to the record shop in Amersham, who sponsored this show. And if you're ever in Amersham, head on down there. They got vinyl for days. They got CDs. They got a whole wall of guitars. It's just amazing to look at. And mention our name, the OK Football Show, and you'll get a discount. Just be nice about it. Right, so on to looking at this game. And it's hard to be optimistic, isn't it?
I think we're not helping the stereotypes, but it is hard to be optimistic. I mean, we were given some cause for optimism in bits of games, but let's be fair, we don't have a great record at the Den. That 2-0, I think it was, the Harry Cornick brace, is the only win we've had against them in a fair few. It's a tough old place to go. And as you said previously, they've just come off a win as well. So, yeah, it's going to be tough.
So the last win came in October 2021. That was under Nathan Jones. And, I believe it was a Cornick double. There were two absolute belters of a goal. And to be honest, since then, it's not been so bad. We went there last time we were in the championship, April 2023, and it was a 0-0 draw. Yeah. I believe that was televised. I don't know what it is with Sky and televising Luton Millwall, whereas they don't televise Luton Watford. I don't get it, to be honest. They're normally quite boring games, aren't they?
Yeah. I think it's so they can get the stock footage of Millwall fans ripping up Kenilworth Road out again. I think that's mainly why, isn't it? But you're right. Yeah, I mean, Watford seemingly never gets televised as much as the Millwall games, despite the scores.
Yeah, well, to be honest, they have all that footage of Luton fans like ripping out the corner flag in 2002. To be honest, in September 2002, they can always use that, can't they? But the amount of times we've said this is another bogey team. So the last 10 games against Millwall, it's not good reading. So it's 4 wins for Millwall, 1 win for Luton, and 5 draws. So Millwall are, in my opinion, are a very similar team to QPR in the sense that they know how to play Luton. When they come to Kenilworth Road as well, like, because they're used to the atmosphere in the Den, they're not easily bowed by the atmosphere at Kenilworth Road because they're used to it, just like QPR. And you hit the nail on the head when you said QPR, that they come to Kenilworth Road, they know what they're doing. And I feel it's a very tough atmosphere to go into at the Den for a team that like I've seen the footage this week of the team training, and they look in great spirits, which is great. You know, a lot of pro footballers have described being in a football team as, you know, like being back at school. And you can see that everyone's having a great time, but you got to think psychologically here. They might all be smiles and happiness, but are they feeling mentally strong after the start to the season?
Yeah, it's got to be tough, hasn't it? I think one point to maybe counter that or add some positivity is at least we're going to have some players about that haven't had that start to the season to come in and freshen things up a little bit. I mean, I'm not suggesting that all of those players will start, but it looks as if we'll get. Hopefully, Kruass looks like he might be fit. That was the date given by Edwards. I think was Millwall. Fingers crossed, Nakamba. Marv is able to play a part in the game. I'd love him to start as well. Who knows in terms of Brown, but there is at least some more fresh legs and fresh minds, if you like. So I would hope to see a bit of a change up to help counter that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's got to be tough when. As has been well documented, you know, we haven't won a lot of games this year. One being the number. So yeah, it's going to be tough for those players psychologically, definitely.
Well, in 2024, we've actually you're completely wrong. Multiply that by multiply double it as much as double it. We've won 2 games this calendar year in 2024. But look, to build on your positivity, we are creating chances.
Yeah.
And I feel it's a case of using that international break to say, right, we're drawing a line under the start to the season now, and we're going to kick on from here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we've had, I mean, despite the negativity with QPR, and there was because of the nature of the defeat and everything else, and after the first goal we collapsed, everything we've said about this already. We had more of that game than we did the previous one, and you'd argue that that's been gradually increasing. We certainly had more clear-cut chances against QPR than arguably most of the games we played, maybe bar Portsmouth. But as a result, you know, we've got to start putting them away. I think I saw a stat, Elijah's got up there with the most clear-cut chances or the most XG in the league.
His XG is, according to FOTMob, 2.5.
Yeah.
And he's had 7 clear
that's
chances.
The one I saw, the 7 clear-cut chances. And interestingly, I think Duncan Watmore for Millwall has had a similar stat but scored 4 goals. So, you know, that will be interesting to see how that plays out on Saturday at least. But yeah, I mean, definitely positive in terms of creating chances. We've just got to do it for more than 30, 40 minutes in a game. And we've got to start putting them away. Sorry to make an obvious point, but we really do.
Yeah, well, the chances created metric is looking quite good for us. Alfie Doughty, obviously he's on set pieces, but as well, like open play chances created, they're good. His total chance created 10, Jordan Clark 6, Shandon Baptiste 5. So we are creating chances, like Carlton Morris 4, Joe Johnson 2. We have been creating chances. To Heath Chong with 2. Remember, we've only played 4 league games, but then there's the big chances missed, and I believe it was Dan in the post-match phone-in. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been after Preston.
I think it was after the Preston game.
And I believe he just hit the nail on the head where he said, we're not converting our chances. But obviously that is compounded as well by a big hole in the middle when you're playing Baptiste and Clark together in the middle. They're both 2 naturally quite attacking players. Like Baptiste is doing a real job in the defensive role, though. You know, he tracks back, he does well. Jordan Clark tries as well. Maybe he does get bullied off the ball. Maybe one goes and then the other one goes, and then the space opens up, and then you get the catastrophic Burnley 4th goal, which haunts me. That, like, I still see, whenever I close my eyes, I still see Lyle Foster just sort of walking through the middle of the park unchallenged. but there is the green shoots of success. Like, we are creating chances. We just got to put them away. And as everyone, I've been beating the drum of changing to a 3 in the middle. I think that will resolve the problems at the back. Look, I don't want to be one of those teams that I do miss how we were under Nathan Jones and Rob Edwards towards the tail end of that promotion season, where it was 1-0, shut up shop, defend really well. But you got to get those fundamentals in place before before you put a shine on everything else, like finishing and stuff. Like, if we were grinding out 0-0s at the beginning of the season, then that would be all right. I do just feel there's more to come, and you touched upon it earlier, like with Marv and Kruass potentially coming back. Who knows what could happen?
I think everything indicates there might well be a change. I know that Dan disagreed with me on this point for the same phone-in, but actually not just Kruass and Nakamba. We've just signed Victor Moses, obviously, who's a winger by trade or a number 10 or a striker, right? They're the main positions that man plays. I can't see him at the moment in there as a striker. Obviously, he's good competition to have, don't get me wrong, but we're relatively well stocked in that position. It's interesting to see if we're looking at wing play. I mean, okay, he might play him at fullback or wing back rather, but Roy Walters done a great job there. I can't see that happening. So
it's unfair on Ruel.
It would be, yeah. So I think that the fact that we've signed someone who is a winger, as opposed to a winger / a wing back or a number 10, suggests there might be a change in formation in the offing. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but that was my thought process the day we signed him.
So it was funny because in the QPR post-match phone-in, which you weren't able to attend, Dan actually agreed with me about the formation change, saying that going 3 in the middle would actually be sensible.
Oh, 100%. I think it. I mean, I think that there's not many people left that thinks the two-man midfield has been working effectively, particularly defending. I mean, it's not. The most solid we've looked in defence is when we were playing with 4 at the back against Portsmouth with 10 men, and with Nakamba in the first half against QPR in the Cup. So, clear. And in both of those cases, actually, even with the 10 men, we were still creating chances. So we didn't actually sacrifice anything really, or a huge amount going forward in either of those games, and we looked more solid. So yeah, fingers crossed. You would think that there has to be some alteration in midfield. You're not going to leave Marv and Kruass on the bench all season. It's not going to happen, surely. So there's got to be a change in there, even if it's not an addition, but at least a change of personnel. That's got to happen.
So dare I ask, what is your predicted 11 for this game?
Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, it's a lot easier than it was for the QPR game when we didn't know who was actually going to stay at the club. So I have got that benefit. I'll go with the one I hope for. So I would like to see a 4-3-3. But I think he's probably more likely, if he's going to add the midfielders, to play a 5-3-2 because of the amount of defenders that we've got now. So I'll go with the suspected rather than the hopeful. I think that I think in terms of wing backs, I think that Doughty and Roy Walters pick themselves really. I can't see any of that changing, both of which are up there. Doughty's been getting better for me. He's still, the corners need some work, but I don't think that's just on him. I think Burke is absolutely class. I love Reece Burke. And he makes such a difference when he plays as well. So for me, he's got to be in there. But that would leave a decision in terms of maybe Mengi versus McGuinness. Sorry, forgot his name for a second. In terms of who goes in the middle. So Bell on the left, McGuinness and Burke on the right. I would like to see. Maybe Mengi or McGuinness. It will depend on how both of those are feeling. Mengi had a supposed strain, so we'll see about that one. I think it'll be a 3 in the middle. I really do. And I think we see Nakamba back in this game behind either a double pivot, both him and Kruass playing in the game, with either Baptiste and Clark in front of him, and then the two of Elijah and Morris. And to be honest, those two up front I'd be happy to see as well, because that stops Morris drifting too far deep and too far over to the right too. Obviously, that means Tahith Chong misses out if that happens. So it's either that double pivot or it's Chong and it's a bit more attacking. I don't know with Millwall. I feel like it might be both of those players in that system, though. Lots of ifs, buts, and maybes.
Yeah, look, I have no complaints about that starting lineup. I would also go 5-3-2. I suspect because it would be very harsh on Ruel Waters to miss out. But I don't think Victor Moses is going to be ready for a start just yet. So I think he would start in the wing-back position. I would potentially say if Moses has some minutes in the legs, then yeah, he can come on. Maybe for Reece Burke and Ruel Waters goes to keep that attacking threat from right centre-back. So it sort of gives you that flexibility in the shape as well. I would disagree in midfield. I would go Kruass Nakamba as the double pivot. I agree about that, but I would go Chong every day of the week in front of them, because you get that defensive solidity. So it still can be like a 3 up top, because you let Chong sort of just roam in the 10 area. But it has to be Elijah and Carlton up top, because with the amount of chances they're getting and they're just not finishing them off at the moment, it has to be a case of playing them into form. But one of them will have to come off at like 70 minutes, I guess, just so they don't run themselves into the ground. And I'd like to see Joe Taylor in a central position, little and large, sort of like Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips. I want to see that type of dynamic. I think he'd work with Elijah, but I think he'd work better with Carlton Morris, the way Carlton Morris traps the ball. I mean, he hasn't been doing it so far this season, but I just feel Carlton Morris's form is coming. It really is. And no one traps a ball on their chest. No one kills it dead like Carlton Morris. And I feel if Carlton Morris can get that touchback, get that control when a ball's fizzed into him. If you remember the Doughty goal, that amazing Doughty goal at QPR at Loftus Road. Yeah. So if you remember the ball into Morris that Doughty played. But you know what? Morris killed the ball dead on his chest and then laid it off for Doughty for that spectacular finish. Like that form, that ability, the touch, you don't become a bad player overnight. Carlton Morris is peak. He's at his peak now. He's 29. I think this game will be his 100th game for Luton Town as well, which is a tremendous milestone to hit. And yeah, we just got to persist with them because it will come.
No, I 100% agree. I think both of them are great players. They proved it in the Championship. Let's be fair, they proved it in the Prem. They both scored 10 goals. I mean, you don't do that by accident either. And Eli's exactly the same. We know what they're capable of. And I don't think anyone doubts their capability. I would also add as well against Millwall, who are going to be a big aerial threat for us. They're good defending corners. I think against QPR, I'm pretty sure 3 corners in a row, Eli was the defender on the near post that headed it clear each time as well. So it's not just attacking. They give us that height. Interesting about Joe Taylor. I agree with you. I think Joe Taylor will work best if we're in the lead in a game. I know that hasn't happened that often, but if we're in the lead in a game and therefore the opposition is pushing forward, because I think
he needs space in behind, doesn't
exactly,
he?
Yeah. And I think that would work nicely. We get a nice lead. And then on the 70th minute or so, we introduce him in to be able to run in behind. Obviously, we've not really had the chance to do that. But that's where the space came against Portsmouth, because they were pushing up against 10 men. And that's where he almost scored his goal from as well. So, yeah, I think he will be really useful, but under those circumstances rather than when we're just hunting for a goal, because I think he's going to struggle against that land of the giants in Millwall if they're all sitting back on their 6-yard line defending for their life.
I think if we do get the set piece delivery absolutely spot on, Sonny Bradley used to get a lot of luck against Jake Cooper. I remember the header he scored from a corner. I think it was New Year's Day, one of those games. We went on to lose 3-1 because
I remember that one.
Millwall, New Den, bogey team.
Graham
but
James
I feel
as well.
Graham
I'm pretty sure that
Don't
was the Graham
remind
Jones
me.
era. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, it was.
I remember watching it on the telly, hungover, and just didn't feel like I could feel any more sick. And then I watched that game. I was like, no, I was wrong. There we go.
Yeah, but we could get some luck from corners if the delivery is spot on, because we have McGuinness, who is the same height as Jake Cooper. He's also a bit more built than Jake Cooper. Like Jake Cooper, yes, he's large, he's imposing, but he's like 80% neck. He's like a giraffe, isn't he? So, in all fairness, there's a potential that McGuinness could win that aerial battle. We've also got Elijah, who's a tall lad, and Carlton, who can handle himself in the air. So we do have those aerial threats. And like, yes, Millwall are a big team, but I feel like if you have three imposing players attacking the ball and a set piece delivery that's completely on point, we can punish them there. Set pieces are gonna play big in this game, I feel.
Oh, 100%. It's got to. I mean, that's where Millwall score a lot of their goals as well. So it's going to be both defence and attack. We just got to mix it up a bit more, and hopefully that's what we've been looking at over the international break. Not just all to the back post every time, and we might be getting somewhere.
Yeah, we got to come into this game and try and be as defensively stable as possible, because Millwall score. They do score. Like, it's a bad beat, that absolute ding dong against Bristol City that neither of us saw coming in our championship prediction video as well. They scored 3 goals and lost, which is, that's football, but it's still quite unfair. And putting 3 past Sheffield Wednesday as well, like a result that neither of us saw coming either. Yeah. It's sensational. They're scoring so many. So to get something from this game, we have to be on it defensively.
I mean, they're playing like we expected Luton to play, really. Sort of 4-3s, scoring goals at will, but a bit shaky in defence. In fact, we kind of guessed the opposite for Millwall, because, the signing, or the permanent signing, I know he was there last season, of Tanganga, and they've got a great defensive lineup. They've got quite a defensive coach as well, manager in Harris. So, I didn't see this coming in terms of the amount of goals they're scoring. So yeah, you're right. We're gonna have to defend better in moments, and sometimes that's tactical, but a lot of the time it's getting rid of those silly errors as well. McGuinness in the last game and marking in the back post for the second goal, but silly errors as well as just the formation.
And to wrap this up, do you stand by your score prediction from earlier on in the week?
Yeah, I do. I'd love to see us win. Obviously, it would be nice. It's been a while. But I can't see it based on recent history and history with Millwall specifically. So I said 1-1. I think a draw is my best estimate for the game.
So I went 1-0 Luton, and in all fairness, having talked myself up now, I'm of the opinion I think it could be a 3-1, but I will stand by my 1-0 because I do think it will be a very tight game. I think there will be some moments where everyone's just like, hands on heads the whole time. There are going to be some absolute bum-clenching moments in this. It's going to be sweaty bum time pretty much all the game. It could be an early lead for Luton. I feel we're going to attack them with vigour from the beginning.
That would be great to see. It really would. We don't get a lead in games very often, so that would be good to see, certainly.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it for tomorrow.
I like your positivity.
Well, let's be optimistic. Let's summon this win, shall we? But
yeah. Well, look, I mean, we can do. We know we've got the players to do it. I think, but no one's going in expecting us to just walk all over a Millwall side. Surely not. So yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed you're right and I'm wrong. I really hope you are.
Yeah. Well, we got all this to look forward to, and to everyone who's watching. Well, we're recording this Thursday night, but for those of you who are watching this Friday, let's hear it. What do you think is going to happen in Millwall versus Luton? Also, while you're here, please drop a like on this video. It only takes a second and it really helps the channel. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the fastest growing Luton Town channel at the moment, and it's brilliant. We want you all to be here for it. A big shout out to our audio partners, Black Star Amplification and Carry On, for making sure that we sound great, and a big thank you to the record shop in Amersham. And let's be having them to the new den. Come on, you hatters, we got this.